Hey everybody, ronarray here, and as you know, PoE 2 meta now is full of spear builds. In this video I want to provide a detailed guide for something cool, not a spear related, and now has incredibly satisfying gameplay in maps too. Dopamine kick when you do a very long flickering chain feels just great. Just look at this and you can judge it by yourself. Since it's Amazon, we can also utilize Leech, cap crit easier and pick cheaper weapons from trade, while Beacon of Aziz will provide the bonus that Invoker usually relies on. The build is also less clunky since we can use Stormwave to generate charges more often without relying on weapon swap too heavily. Let's go forward and I will be able to explain everything that you need to know to build it yourself. In this video I'm going to cover two setups, one for Uber bosses mostly for pinnacles and one for mapping. The setup for mapping is strong enough so you will be able to kill everything in the map, including map bosses, and the bossing setup is used only to one-shot pinnacles. And in the mapping setup, I don't really feel like getting charges from the weapon swap as a start are absolutely necessary. You can just start your map by using the wave as the first pack of monsters, and you're going to receive a pretty decent amount of charges pretty fast without a lot of issues. And when you will have at least 6 charges, you will be able to just start flickering, and it's going to generate charges for itself now. So I don't really feel like weapon swap is necessary, but if you feel like it, you will be able to just use a weapon swap, so just swap your weapon and cast Profane Ritual. I'm going to showcase how to do that a little later in the gem section. And on the other hand, for the boss, it will be absolutely necessary to weapon swap and cast Profane Ritual on our minions to make sure that we will have enough power charges at the start of the fight. We will need to do that twice when we first cast and charge stuff, and after that stacking our charges again so we can get enough to use our flicker too. We will also need to click Infernal Cry, so setup for bosses is a little more complicated, and for beautiful one-shot you will need to click at least a few buttons, which in my opinion is kinda alright. In this build we also will be able to tackle huge mana cost of flicker with just one basic jewel, which will give us recover % of maximum mana on kill. And we also will be able to use Chaos Inoculation to be completely immune to chaos damage and bleeding. That way we'll be able to ignore both bleeding and poison, and it will be much easier to pick our items because we don't need to just stack chaos resistance anywhere. We're also going to have a very good stun recovery with Abasement and pretty nice element threshold with Shimmer and Mirage. All of that together should lead to a pretty nice defenses as well. So now let's focus on the gems, and the setup there could be a little different. So first off, I'm going to showcase a basic setup, and after that I'm going to showcase an endgame setup. So for the basic setup, you will need to run Perpetual Charge together with Momentum, Primal Armament, Overextend and Pinpoint Critical for your Flickering Strike. I think that setup is probably one of the best mapping setups right now. Perpetual Charge will make sure that you're constantly flickering. Momentum is going to work very good because you're constantly moving using the skill, and it's practically 40% free multiplier for your damage. Primal Armament is going to provide a pretty decent elemental damage bonus, and Overextend here is going to improve your critical damage bonus. Since we should always have close to 100% or exactly 100% critical hit chance, so our flicker will always crit. Pinpoint Critical will help us with that. If your crit is higher, instead of Pinpoint, you can try to run Inevitable Critical. It will be harder to maintain 100% critical hit chance with it, but if your weapon is good, it could be an option. I recommend Pinpoint for better chances right now. You can always check your main hand critical hit chance there, and estimated main hand critical chance from accuracy here too, but please keep in mind that that number not really leads to 150% critical hit chance, it's just giving additional bonus to your basic one, so I recommend to recheck your critical hit chance at least in path of building, or try to calculate it yourself. But generally, if you have around 72 main hand and 150 on top, it's usually 100% critical hit chance with the skill. So another option, if your damage is already pretty high, you can replace armament right here to hit and run, just to make your flicker very fast. I think hit and run is providing cool bonus, and I probably would recommend to use that almost always if your damage is enough. If you're not killing monsters with your flicker, however, you will need to replace it back with something like primal armament. I'm also not recommending to use concentrated effect, because it's going to affect how far you can flicker, so it's not the best idea. But such setup for flickering should be pretty good. And for the Storm Wave, I'm currently using Martial Tempo, Upheaval, Lightning Infusion and Ambush. I think that setup is providing very decent amount of damage, and you can also replace Lightning Infusion with Primal Armament if you have different type of damage on your water stuff, such as fire damage or cold damage. In that case, replacing it could improve your DPS at least a little. Going forward, we're also going to use Charge Staff. For the Charge Staff, I'm running Persistence and Calling Strike. The last bonus here is Close Combat, and Close Combat could also be great for Flicker Strike itself. It could replace Hit and Run, it could replace Primal Armament in some cases, so keep in mind that Close Combat is an option too. Currently I just have it for Charge Staff, it's not really providing a lot of bonuses, but it's just there so I could replace some gems and Flickering. And for Charge Staff, we're just running Persistence and Calling Strike. Also make sure that Charge Staff and your Flicker Strike have quality, because quality is going to provide a pretty decent bonus for both of those skills. Infernal Cry is just a part of the bossing setup, I'm not going to comment on that. And we're also going to use a Sacrifice for mapping. Make sure that your Sacrifice is added to the second weapon slot right here, so every time when you're repicking to your second weapon slot, you will be able to use a Sacrifice. We're also going to use one basic profane ritual, which is Self-Cast, together with Unleash, Arcane Tempo and Fast Forward. That way, when you're weapon swapping, skeletons are going to appear around you, mostly because you're using Rattling Scepter, and for the second weapon set, you'll be able to get at least like 10 to 14 skeletal warriors. That way, when you're changing your weapon set, Sacrifice will activate, and you will be able to use Profane to your minions and receive charges when it's cast. That's a very good bonus to stack charges before fighting the boss, or even at the start at the map, as I already mentioned. And for the main set, we're going to use Custom Critical and Herald of Ash. For Custom Critical, I'm currently running Quality, Profane Ritual, Overabundance, Impetus, and Profusion. I think with that setup, Custom Critical is going to proc pretty often because we have almost 100% crit chance and we're critting almost all the time. So that Profane Ritual is going to be your main source to maintain charges while mapping. And Herald of Ash is going to help you with Clear because it's giving you AoE, and using Magnified effect at Herald is a pretty great idea for it. I'm also using Precision and Clarity because our accuracy is adding critical hit chance, which is pretty nice, and Clarity is helping with mana at least a little. If you will need to drop something, I would probably drop Clarity, because we are mostly going to get mana with one of the dual options. And I also have a Lingering Illusion for additional option for power charge, but I'm not really using that often, and we can currently just ignore it. So talking about bossing setup, we have Infernal Cry right here, and you will be able to use Infernal Cry every time when you're starting to fight the boss, but after the boss appeared and when you can practically touch it with Infernal Cry. So Premeditation here is going to give us 15% more damage, and Raging Cry is going to provide rage when they are screaming close to the boss. It's the best source to receive rage at the start for our Flicker. And let's talk about the bossing setup. The very important part about Flicker Strike is that the Flicker Strike snapshotting for the first set of attacks. So all the bonuses that are working at the start of it are going to stay with you during the whole cast of Flicker Strike. It's also crit for all hits or no crit at all. That's why reaching 100% critical chance is so important. So for the bosses, we're dropping Perpetual Charge, we're dropping the Momentum because boss could just stand in one place and it's not going to work nice, and we're also dropping Hit and Run. Instead, we're going to use Concentrated Effect together with Execute And we can also replace pinpoint with inevitable critical if we are sure that our critical chance is enough. We also can use ambush in that case, but since we are going to utilize the deepest tower for bossing, I think ambush is not the best idea right here. And the last gem is various. Most of the time I'm just using close combat for it. So for the bossing, it goes close combat, execute, concentrated, overextend, and inevitable critical. A lot of people are asking if concentrated effect is working for Flicker and why it's even working. So as you can see, my damage tooltip in the game is changing when I'm adding concentrated, and generally it's working. So far maybe it's a bug, but it's been like that for a pretty decent amount of time, and I think it's probably going to stay. So with such bossing setup, we will have around 80% critical hit chance, close to 90, and we will need to crit with our first hit. If we are not critting, our damage is going to be significantly lower, we will need to finish Flickering, and we will probably need to resummon our skeletons from the second set. But generally with inevitable you should crit almost always, to be honest. And if your weapon is pretty good, you can even have 100% critical hit chance even at bosses. If you feel like you're not critting often enough at bosses, move pinpoint back. It's going to be less damage because less critical damage bonus, but still going to provide enough critical to always crit. And that's a gem setup. Let's talk about items and how items are looking for the bossing setup, because we are currently talking about that. So for the bossing setup, I recommend to use the deepest tower helmet, which gives enemies in your presence count as being on low life. It's going to give a significant bonus damage from execute. And you can also roll deepest tower with +1 maximum power charge as corrupted implicit, and it's going to improve your damage significantly because it's literally one more flickering strike. So just use that helmet for bossing. And another thing that I recommend to swap for bossing is boots. So generally just running power thread is a pretty great idea. It gives +1 maximum power charge and from 12 to 15 increase critical damage bonus per power charge too. With that way, we're going to increase our damage significantly, that's about 20-25%, and I think both those items are currently necessary to one-shot tier 4 pinnacles. Make sure that you're using that setup together with deepest tower and power thread for the maximum damage. And for the mapping, I'm using a normal helmet just with a lot of energy shield, accuracy and critical hit chance, because I think it's pretty much enough for mapping. And as the boots, I'm just using resistances ones together with movement speed and maximum mana. I feel that there's kinda an option to use power thread hunting shoes all the time, but low movement speed, which is currently 15% at the maximum, is not really making it comfortable for me, so running rare boots is probably going to be better. And talking about the rest of the items, I'm currently using basic ingenuity for around 30% bonus from both rings. For the rings, I'm running rings with just like a little accuracy, lightning damage and resistances. And here it's literally the same again, lightning damage, rarity, resistances, and that's pretty much it, no accuracy unfortunately. For the Amulet, I'm running Beacon of Aegis Solar Amulet. It gives critical hits ignore enemy monster elemental resistance. That way all our elemental damage are probably going to ignore resistances at bosses, and I feel like Beacon of Aegis is absolutely necessary to fight bosses with the current setup. It's also providing spirit around 45, so it should work just fine while mapping too. For the body armor, I'm just using body armor with a lot of energy shield because I'm currently playing Chaos Inoculation. So around 1000 energy shield will be pretty good, but if you will get lower or if you're going to use a hybrid armor, you're still going to be fine. And for the gloves, we're using a very cool item, which is Essentia Sanguinus Fortiferus. That way you can receive life leeches converted to energy shield leech, and we're going to constantly leech energy shield just from that item, which is making those gloves absolutely amazing. Together with corruption with +1 level 4 melee skills and lightning damage to attacks, I think those gloves are one of the best current options, especially since we also have energy shield on the gloves themselves. And the weapon is probably the most tricky part right here. I'm not really focusing too heavily on the damage, and just running plus level 4 melee skills, critical damage bonus, and some accuracy. There's also an alternative option that I had for my weapon. Let me showcase it, because I think it could be a pretty nice option too, so something like that is working as well. You have a lot of increased elemental damage, 36% critical damage bonus, and plus 6 level of all melee skills. But on that weapon I have less accuracy, even if higher PDPS, and a biggest downside for it, that my Sinister Quarterstaff have 11% of critical hit chance, and that Quarterstaff just don't have it. Both of them would be viable, so both examples should probably work for you. And that weapon, for example, Sinister Quarterstaff, I bought for about 12 exalteds only, so there was like a lot of options like that on the market if you will search good enough. And that's it for the items. There was nothing else. We're running basic flasks and one charm with immunity to freeze, because I think freezing is not really comfortable right now. If you're really uncomfortable about slows, you can also run anti-slow charm too. So now let's talk about our passive skill tree. And right here it's pretty simple. First off, we'll need to go to the right and take Primal Instinct. I think attack damage right here helps a lot. And we can go here and take Subterfuge Mask, together with Lust for Power. We're going to take all power charge bonuses in the tree. So Lust for Power, the Power Within, and Overflowing Power. All of them are pretty nice. We will also go to the right to take all critical bonuses, together with Quarterstaff bonuses here. Because one with the Storm providing a very good bonus that Quarterstaff skills that consume power charges count as consuming an additional one, which is very good for Flicker. We will also go up and take Chaos Inoculation, together with Abasement and Shimmering Mirage. Both those nodes are going to help with our stun threshold and ailment threshold. That way we will not be frozen and we will not be stunned that often. We're also going to the left and take Impatient Barrier together with Energy Shield passives, because those are amazing. And another important part right here, we will need to use a Sapphire Jewel with recover % of maximum mana on kill. It's going to help us significantly just with getting our mana recovered, and even if you will be unable to get any other bonuses here, it's still fine and I recommend that. Another very cool jewel is right here. We can get Time Lost Ruby Jewel, which will give us notable passive skill and radius, grant 1 rage on melee hit, together with like global physical damage, increased melee damage or increased attack damage. All of those are working just perfectly, but rage is the most important one, because we have a lot of notables here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to generate 5 rage on every melee hit with both Flicker Strike and Storm Wave every time when we are hitting. So I definitely recommend to look for some such Time Lost Ruby. It's not really too expensive right now. And for the normal jewel, we're just running like maximum energy shield together with critical damage bonus and possibly stun threshold equal to % of maximum energy shield. I also recommend to use Eternal Youth, because most of the time we're going to just recover our energy shield from Leech because of the Sentia Sanguinis. But when we are not doing it, I think just clicking the flask is probably the best way to recover, and it's definitely worth 1 point. We're also going to utilize weapon set skills. For second weapon set, as you can see, I'm taking all nodes up here for minions, going to the left for minion revive speed and additional spirit to just summon more skeletons. It's not absolutely necessary, but you can do that. To do that, you need to just refine the points, click right here for weapon set 2, and after you clicked, you will be able to just allocate second weapon set passives. If you're going to do that for first set, just allocate basic stuff such as Deadly Force, such as Moment of Truth, and Vile Storm, so everything damage related should be in first weapon set, and everything like minions related should be in second weapon set. So that's pretty much it for the trees. There's not a lot of other tricks. I recommend to take Subterfuge Mask because it's going to provide us with evasion, even if you're not using hybrid armor. And going up for Patient Barrier is pretty important because energy shield that it provides is just huge. I'm talking about our Ascendancy. First off, we are taking Critical Strike, because it's going to help us significantly while we are capping our critical hit chance. And second, we are taking Penetrate, because additional physical damage could be a very nice bonus. I'm currently running quarter stuff like that, so accuracy is there. And I think with that accuracy, running Penetrate is making sense. If you don't have accuracy at all, you can drop Penetrate and take 1 point into elemental damage, or even look for Stalking Panther and running Hybrid Boots or Hybrid Helmet in that case. And Elemental Infusion unfortunately not really working very good for us, because Infused Weapon is mostly working only for projectiles, so we can totally avoid that skill. Instead, we are taking Predatory Instinct. It's not really helping Flicker significantly, but Open Weakness overall can provide additional bonus damage at some particular moments. And we're also taking Mystic Harvest, because that way we will be able to life leech a little more from hit, even if we are still limited for our max leech. The most important note here, just Critical Strike, and everything else just comes as a nice bonus on top of pretty much working build already. And while progressing, I'm currently at pretty low level still, so here is my Flickering Hound, I'm like level 90, I played it only for a little and created that character not that long ago. I think next I'm pretty much going to take Blinding Strike for additional points, and will invest a little more into survivability, getting evasion and maximum energy shield points. I currently have about 5k energy shield and it's feeling pretty good right here. And 30% evasion, but I think it could be improved, and if you will reach like 6-7k energy shield, the build will feel even more comfortable, especially while mapping. So that's pretty much it. You can change some passives here and there, but I think the foundation is probably going to stay the same. I also want to bring your attention to a pretty nice thing, that you can get attack damage 10%, and it could give more damage than 50% increased critical damage bonus, because our critical damage bonus is already pretty high. So look into it if you're picking particular part for improving your damage. And for the Amulet, I still recommend Storm Charge, because I think Storm Charge right here is probably one of the best anointments still. It's giving critical hit chance and a lot of elemental damage too, so I think it's just perfect for the build. With such 3, you will be able to survive just fine. And if you feel like your Flicker is a little too slow, you can also take Flow State for additional skill speed, but I don't really feel like it's necessary. So that's been my Flickering Amazon build, and I think right now it's amazingly fun to play. It's practically flying through maps, and it can even one-shot pinnacle bosses. So I think it's in a pretty good position. I will keep updating it across time, and we'll probably will do another video if there will be big changes. Thank you very much for watching as usual, guys, and ronarray out.